Thinking of moving to Princeton in 2026? There are 7 things buyers wish they knew before they did. Stay tuned for today's episode. Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm Josh Wilton, and this is the Wilton Report. And we work with buyers and sellers here at Queenston Realty across Princeton and the central west part of New Jersey. And today we have a lot to talk about. If you haven't hit subscribe yet to the channel, please do so. Hit the subscribe button. So today, 7 things buyers wish they knew before they moved to Princeton, or maybe even before they started looking at Princeton to manage their expectations. First things first, Princeton isn't Princeton. How's that for a mouthful? If you look on Princeton and you don't look by high school, you're going to be looking in areas like Montgomery, Franklin, West Windsor, Plainsboro, Lawrenceville, Hopewell. They all share zip codes with Princeton, 08540. So half, maybe 2/3 of the inventory that you see online that's labeled as Princeton doesn't actually fall into the town of Princeton. It just has a Princeton zip code. So if you're a buyer thinking of moving to Princeton, and you want to be in Princeton or in West Windsor, search by school district, search by Princeton High School, West Windsor, Plainsboro North, West Windsor, Plainsboro South, Franklin High School, because all the towns seem to have a Princeton zip code. As a matter of fact, I got a call from an out-of-area broker saying that they had an off-market seller who wanted to sell in Princeton. He gave me the address, and I'm thinking, you're in real estate, you don't even know? That's not in Princeton. It happened to be in Franklin. Beautiful house, but it wasn't Princeton. So very important that Princeton isn't Princeton. 08540 doesn't mean that you're going to buy a house in Princeton. Princeton High School does. That's number 1. Number 2, when you're looking in Princeton, you have to know the neighborhoods. Littlebrook, Community Park, Riverside, the Tree Streets, right? The Historic District, the John Witherspoon neighborhood, the Western section, the Institute area. I could go on and on and on. Each part of Princeton has its own nuance, its own pricing, its own assessment, its own tax ratio, all the things where local knowledge really matters. So if you want to buy in Princeton or any town in central west New Jersey, you have to be very specific how you search, and you want to work with an agent like myself that has local knowledge. That's first and foremost. Number 2, price is not necessarily an indicator of value. Price is an indicator of a marketing strategy. And again, if I'll link to it in the other episodes in the comment, marketing strategy, right? Price is the marketing strategy. It's part of it. Are they pricing aspirationally? Are they pricing above the market because the seller thinks their house is worth more than it is? Are they pricing to the market? If it's worth $1, are they pricing at $1? Or are they doing what we call, right, event-based or party pricing, where if it's worth $1, they price it at 98 cents and they expect, and the strategy for the price is to get it bid up. So if you don't know price per square foot, the assessment, where things trade in relationship to the assessment, the value of the lot, conforming, non-conforming in the neighborhood, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, in Princeton, in West Windsor, Berrien City is completely different than the rest of West Windsor on a price per square foot basis. Local knowledge is everything. You have to know the difference. So price is in value. It's part of the marketing strategy to get you in the door. Or if it's overpriced, maybe keep you out. So school rankings. Again, school rankings don't tell the full story, right? In Princeton, Community Park is a Spanish immersion school. I'm going to link to that episode we did on the schools. The charter school, I met somebody yesterday at an open house. They were literally moving to Princeton for the charter school. I'm not sure how, because it's fairly easy to find on the internet. They didn't realize it was by a lottery. All of a sudden, that changed. They want to be now in a specific neighborhood. In case they don't get into the charter school, they want to be in a certain neighborhood for the elementary school. So this really matters, right? So school rankings don't tell the whole tale. Charter is the #1 charter school in the state, but it's by a lottery. You may move here and you may not get in. So you want to have a nuanced understanding of the schools, where they go, Spanish immersion, is it walkable? Do they drive? How far away can you live before your kids get bused? You need to know all these things before you write the offer for the house. So the other thing too, inventory. We are early in the season in 2026. The spring in Princeton, usually we see inventory tick up in Princeton in the spring. So January, February, March, April, May, June, July. Inventory tends to tick up as the spring moves on. Last year in 2025, that didn't happen. So, we'll see what happens. We're expecting a little more inventory this year, but based on the demand, right, it's going to get absorbed, and it's going to get absorbed quickly. So if your strategy is to wait for one more house, can't necessarily guarantee you in the environment that we're in, it's going to be there. So usually seasonal, post-COVID, anything goes. We don't quite know what's going to happen with the spring market until after it happens. So taxes, right? Why is one house, literally an 8.4, 2.5 colonial, which is an 8-room, 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath colonial, same house, same lot size, one has higher taxes than the other, right? Do you know that? So if you're going to renovate your house in Princeton, as you pull certificates from the town for the renovation, the electric, the plumbing, et cetera, your assessment's going up. When your assessment goes up, your taxes are going to go up. And I'm such a real estate nerd, I actually keep track of all the new construction, actually houses from 2020 and beyond, 2020 and newer. I keep track of the new assessments. I keep track of the price per square foot. I keep track of the taxes, the year built, the lot size. So if you're looking for up to the second data, I probably have it in a spreadsheet. And if I don't, reach out to me and I'll make it for you because I like real estate. I think you have to know the math to know the market. So again, taxes could go up if you're going to renovate your house. The taxes you buy the house at are not the taxes you're going to pay post-renovation. Very important to know from an affordability perspective. The other thing too, there are a lot of older houses in Princeton. So you may buy a house. I'll give you an example. There was a townhouse that came on the market, ironically, in my neighborhood. I'll leave that out where it is. Came on in the low 8s. And we predicted it was going to sell in the low 9s, which it did, right? It needed a lot of renovation. The townhouse was built in 1974. Kitchen was from 74. The bath was from 74. Beautiful house, hardwood floors, oak, really great floor plan. Community has a pool and a tennis court, walk to Nassau Street, the whole thing, but it needed a lot of renovation. So what we did is we sent in our contractor to give our buyer estimates, kitchen, baths, paint. So they made an intelligent bid based on their cash and what they could afford to pay post-closing to get this house to the standard that they want. So, in that particular case, if the bidding got too high for their cash position to fix it up, they opted for a newer house in a different part of town. So again, don't guess at renovation costs. There's always something hidden in the renovation. A lot of brokers will tell you just knock the wall down, but what you don't see at the base of the wall, it's got the vent to the HVAC. Well, now you have to move the vent, and that adds to the price. So these are all little nuances. You don't want to make the mistake at the expense of your pocketbook post-closing. Find out what it's going to cost pre-bid. We have a retinue of contractors that we trust that will go in and give you that bid pre-bid. Very important to get that because, again, knowledge is everything. So the other thing, too, like we hear a lot, buyers are like, yeah, we're just kind of looking on Zillow and we're working, we're learning the market that way. Zillow's not going to teach you Princeton. Zillow's not going to teach you West Windsor. Zillow's not going to teach you the difference between Hopewell Borough, Pennington Borough, Hopewell Township, septic, not septic, new construction, whatever. So just some nuances actually, Zillow's not even going to give you the right high school, but some nuances specifically for Princeton. So let's just focus on Princeton High School, Princeton, not Franklin Princeton. 40% of the bids in Princeton are cash. So if you're a cash buyer and you're coming to town and you're feeling really good, like, wow, cash is king and it's great because it's less contingencies than a mortgage, pretty much half of the market is cash. So as awesome it is, contextually in Princeton, you're not that special. That's number one. Number two, my estimate is that 20% of the buyers are affiliated with Princeton University. They're tenured faculty. And again, I've done an episode on that. I'll put the link to that in the comments. So what does that mean? If I'm a tenured faculty, I get a 40-year mortgage. You on the street get 30. If the rates are 6, I get 4 because Princeton lends its own money. Moreover, Princeton University will give me a 33.33% equity position, become a tenant in common on my house, which means I, as a tenured professor, can afford more than the general public at a lower payment. So you have to know to bid against that. Zillow's not going to teach you what an ADU impact is on a lot in Princeton. I will. I develop ADUs. So, there's so many different things. The other thing too, when you look at the first block of Nassau, as I call it, or anything that's walkable to town, it's the home buyers that are in there are not necessarily just kids. These are people selling from the burbs that want to walk to town, put the car in the driveway and leave it there. A lot of them work from home 2-3 days a week. So they're looking for a different lifestyle as they age out of that big house in the suburbs. So Zillow's not going to teach you that level of nuance about Princeton, Franklin, West Windsor, South Brunswick. Your local broker here at Queenston, that's what we do. So again, if you're considering a move to Princeton or the surrounding towns, we specialize in them all, or even starting to think about it, I'm going to put a link in the comments. It's a direct link to my calendar. Just book a strategy call. You have to know the math, know the market. Local market knowledge is everything. So book a short strategy call with us. We'll help you. There's no pressure. There's definitely no obligation, but the objective is to give you clarity as to what's happening in the market. So again, long-term investment, short-term strategy session can save you or make you a lot of money. So again, thank you for tuning in to this week's episode. I'm Josh Wilton, and this is the Wilton Report.